What if money weren't just paper, coins, or cold numbers on a screen, but a living consciousness that responds to you? Florence Scovel Shinn put it plainly: man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. This isn't mere metaphor, it's an invitation to realize that money reflects your state of mind and the words you speak. In Hermeticism, the first principle is clear. The universe is mental. If all is mind, money is not outside you, it mirrors what you project within. Modern science hints at the same truth. In the famous double-slit experiment, the observer shapes the outcome. In the same way, the consciousness with which you look at money changes how it behaves in your life. In today's video, you'll see how Florence intuited this a century ago, how Hermeticism has taught it for millennia, and how quantum physics reinforces it. Reality responds to the observer. Most importantly, you'll discover the simple shift in perception that can transform your relationship with money and let abundance begin to flow, starting now. Before we continue, answer this in the comments. What's the first word or feeling that comes to mind when you think about money? Write it now, because your answer reveals far more than you imagine about the vibration you're sending out. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that money is a force in motion, not something static or lifeless. To her, treating it as mere paper or numbers was to limit its true nature. She saw money as an expression of divine flow, a living energy that must circulate to fulfill its purpose. This understanding shatters the idea that money is purely material. It is a vibrational field that responds to how we relate to it. In Hermeticism, we find a powerful echo of this teaching in the principle of mentalism. The universe is mental. This means everything that exists, including money, is a projection of the mind. If the universe is mental, money cannot be the exception. It is a reflection of the universal consciousness, shaped by the thoughts, emotions, and beliefs we feed it every day. When Florence recommended speaking to money, she wasn't promoting superstition, she was pointing to a dialogue with the creative mind itself. Money is not separate from us. It is part of the collective mental field, and therefore responds to the way we treat it. Just as you nurture a friendship through words and attention, speaking to money nurtures your connection to this living energy that manifests abundance. Quantum physics reveals this same principle in its own way. The double-slit experiment showed that the observer's awareness influences the result. In the same way we look at money alters how it shows up in our lives. Those who see it as scarce experience lack. Those who see it as abundant experience flow. The observer always shapes reality. Florence compared money to a river it must move to remain alive. When money flows, it thrives. When it is held back in fear, it stagnates. A river that stops moving becomes a swamp. The same happens with the finances of those who hoard from despair instead of faith. Fear blocks the current, while trust keeps it alive. This aligns perfectly with the Hermetic law of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. If money is energy, it must move to remain vital. When you bless or thank money, you activate its current. When you curse or fear it, you send a vibration that pushes it away. Everything depends on the frequency you choose to maintain. In practical terms, money mirrors your inner state. Those who fear spending attract situations of lack. Those who invest with confidence open doors to unexpected returns. This is not luck, it is vibrational law. Money behaves like water. It always seeks the path of least resistance, and that path is defined by your consciousness. The first key, then, is to recognize money as living energy that responds to universal laws and your mental state. Neither banks nor governments determine your prosperity, your consciousness does. Money is not the enemy or the savior. It is a reflection. And if all is mind, as Hermeticism teaches, then what you think and feel about money is exactly what it becomes in your life. Florence Scovel Shinn used to say, "The word is man's magic wand." To her, everything we speak creates invisible images that sooner or later take form. Our words are not random sounds, they are seeds cast into the fertile soil of the subconscious. When we speak carelessly, we plant thorns. When we speak with faith, we sow flowers that eventually bloom into reality. Hermeticism confirms this through the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. If everything vibrates, words vibrate too. Each carries a unique frequency capable of altering not only our own consciousness, but also the energetic field around us. Every word is a wave, and that wave always returns, obeying the law of cause and effect. Florence warned never to curse money by saying things like, "There's never enough," or "Money slips through my hands." Such words vibrate in the frequency of scarcity, and the universe simply echoes that vibration back. In contrast, affirming with conviction, "I am abundant, and money flows freely into my life," establishes a new energetic pattern that inevitably manifests as prosperity. Modern science echoes this principle through the experiments of Dr. Masaru Emoto, who demonstrated that words of love and gratitude transformed the molecular structure of water into beautiful, symmetrical crystals, while words of hate produced chaotic and distorted forms. If we, as human beings, are mostly water, and money is also energy in motion, how could it not respond in the same way to the frequencies of our words? In Hermeticism, Hermes Trismegistus taught that the word itself is creative power. The Christian tradition repeats the same truth in John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word. Both teachings reveal that language is the seed of creation. Florence simply translated this ancient truth into daily life. If you desire prosperity, your words must vibrate prosperity. If you desire abundance, your words cannot carry fear or complaint. Every time you speak to money as if it were a person, you are actually shaping the invisible field through your voice. Treat it as a friend, and it will draw near. Treat it as an enemy, and it will keep its distance. The spoken word becomes the bridge between your conscious mind and the quantum field that organizes reality. Quantum physics reinforces this idea. The observer does not simply measure reality, they influence it. Likewise, words function as quantum commands. When you name something, you imprint the field of possibilities with intention, collapsing the invisible wave into a tangible outcome. To speak to money, then, is to collapse your financial reality consciously. So, never underestimate the power of your voice. Your words are not momentary expressions of mood. They are vibrational decrees the universe receives as orders. Florence understood this, deeply speaking to, money is not fantasy. It is communication with the creative force itself. With every word, you choose to plant scarcity or to plant abundance. And what you plant will always, inevitably, return to you. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the subconscious mind is like fertile soil, receiving every impression from the conscious mind and returning it as lived reality. Speaking to money, therefore, was her way of impressing that inner field with images of abundance. When the conscious mind speaks words of prosperity, the subconscious accepts them as commands and begins to reorganize life to match that vibration. Hermeticism expresses this through the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. The outer world is never the cause, it is the reflection. The money we see in our wallet or in the bank is just an effect. The true cause lies within, in our consciousness and subconscious programming. If inside we vibrate scarcity, scarcity will appear outside. If inside we vibrate abundance, abundance will manifest externally. Florence explained that the subconscious does not reason, judge, or question it, simply accepts whatever is repeatedly impressed upon it. If someone spends years affirming, "Money is hard to get, there's never enough," the subconscious records that belief as personal law. From then on, everything in that person's life will rearrange itself to confirm that inner decree, not because of fate, but because of mental programming. Quantum physics offers a powerful metaphor for this: the collapse of the wave function. Before being observed, a particle exists in a state of infinite potential. The act of observation makes it collapse into a specific reality. The subconscious works the same way. It is the invisible field of all possibilities, collapsing into form according to the strongest impressions from the conscious mind. That is why Florence advised treating money as if it were alive. When you speak to it with gratitude or confidence, your subconscious interprets it as an emotional truth, not a mere metaphor. If you say, "Money, I am grateful for your constant flow in my life," the subconscious receives it as fact and aligns thoughts, emotions, and actions to fulfill that experience. Hermeticism has always taught that true magic lies not in external rituals, but in mastery of the inner mind. The Hermetic initiate does not create gold from nothing. He creates the consciousness of gold, and the outer world follows. Florence translated that same principle into practical, everyday language. It is not the world that makes you rich or poor, it is your subconscious conditioning. And the most direct way to reprogram it is through conscious speech. If the subconscious is the soil, then your words and emotions are the seeds. Quantum physicists call it the field of possibilities. Hermeticists call it correspondence, and Florence called it applied faith. The message is identical. The invisible precedes the visible. How you speak to money, and, more importantly, how you feel when you do, determines the harvest that follows. So when you speak to money as a living consciousness, you are not fantasizing. You are programming the invisible field that shapes your reality. That field always responds precisely to the impressions it receives. The choice is yours. Continue imprinting the old patterns of scarcity, or plant new words and emotions that imprint abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that money should circulate like blood in the body. When it moves, it sustains life. When it's held back by fear, it breeds illness. To her, hoarding money out of anxiety or greed was a way of blocking the current of abundance. This truth transcends economy. It's a spiritual law. Money is living energy, and all energy must move to renew itself. In Hermeticism, this idea appears in the law of rhythm. Everything flows in and out, rises and falls, advances and recedes. Just as the tides obey the moon and the heart beats in rhythm, money also follows this universal movement. To resist it is to fight the very order of life itself. Abundance is like the ocean, its waves come and go. Those who trust the rhythm are always replenished. Those who fear it freeze in emptiness. Florence taught that spending with fear is an unconscious declaration of scarcity. When someone pays a bill with resentment, they send the message to the subconscious that money is insufficient, and reality reflects exactly that. But when the same payment is made with gratitude, affirming that more is coming, the energy of money is renewed. This simple shift in vibration reorganizes reality itself. Quantum physics illustrates the same principle. In the double-slit experiment, when the flow of light moves freely, it creates beautiful interference patterns, a dance of infinite possibilities. But when we try to control or measure it too rigidly, the pattern collapses into limitation. The same is true with money. When we trust its flow, it expands creatively. When we restrict it through fear, it becomes stagnant and predictable. Florence's metaphor of money as a river is profoundly accurate. A flowing river nourishes the land, sustains life, and spreads abundance along its path. But a blocked river creates floods or swamps. Hoarding money for fear of loss doesn't create safety, it creates stagnation. Allowing it to move with confidence, on the other hand, keeps the current alive. Flow is the proof of faith. In Hermeticism, the law of vibration reinforces this truth. Money that circulates vibrates in a higher frequency. Money held in fear vibrates in scarcity. The universe responds not to how much you have, but to the feeling you sustain while using it. Fear closes doors. Trust opens pathways. Money, therefore, is less about quantity and more about energetic quality. Many believe that holding on tightly brings security, but Florence reminded that true security lies in trusting the infinite source. Money moves, but the source never runs out. When we understand this, we stop acting from fear and start acting from consciousness. Spending becomes an act of faith, not loss. It becomes sowing, not depletion. What goes out returns multiplied, because the universe always completes the cycle. The flow of money, then, is the reflection of your faith in motion. If you believe in an abundant universe, you spend with confidence and receive with ease. If you believe in lack, you cling in fear and attract more of the same. Florence, Hermes, and even modern science agree. The secret is in allowing the flow. Because in life, everything that flows lives, and everything that's held in fear eventually dies. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that gratitude is a hidden key to prosperity. She said that when we give thanks for what we already have, even if it seems little, we activate the vibration that draws more. Ingratitude, on the other hand, closes every door, for it tells both the subconscious and the universe that nothing is enough. Gratitude is not mere courtesy. It is a vibrational command that reorganizes reality around us. Hermeticism expresses this truth through the law of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Gratitude is a cause that inevitably generates multiplication as its effect. When we give thanks, we emit a positive current that returns to us amplified. It is like planting a seed in the soil. The harvest will not only match the seed, but come back multiplied. Florence even said that paying a bill should be an act of gratitude. Instead of thinking, "I'm losing money," she advised to affirm, "I am grateful to be able to pay, and I know much more will come." That simple shift turns a transaction into a spiritual exchange. Gratitude renews the money's energy, opening new channels for its return. Modern science confirms this power. Studies in neuroscience show that gratitude alters the brain's chemistry, increasing dopamine and serotonin, the neurotransmitters of well-being. This shift in emotion changes our vibration. Just as in the placebo effect, belief and emotion trigger real physical responses, proving that gratitude is a practical technology for transformation. Hermetic wisdom, through the law of correspondence, also teaches that what we cultivate within manifests without. A mind filled with complaint creates a life of scarcity. A mind filled with gratitude manifests abundance. That is why Florence insisted on giving thanks even for small things: a cup of coffee, a sunny day, an unexpected smile. Each act of gratitude is a decree to the subconscious: I am abundant. Quantum physics suggests the same. Gratitude changes how we interact with the field of possibilities. When we observe reality through gratitude, we alter the way it collapses before us. Every moment of thankfulness becomes a positive quantum measurement, selecting the most abundant version of reality to unfold. Gratitude is not merely a feeling, it is a conscious choice of reality. Florence knew that most people wait to have more before feeling grateful. She reversed the order: be grateful first, then receive. That reversal is true faith, because it shows trust in the unseen supply. Whoever gives thanks for the invisible brings it into visibility. This is the law of multiplication. The universe expands what we already honor. So, if you wish to multiply the money in your life, begin with gratitude for what you already have. With each coin, each payment, each inflow, declare, "Thank you, this is the seed of much more." Florence, Hermes, and modern science all converge on this truth. Gratitude is not a moral virtue. It is a spiritual technology, a universal law that transforms the little into limitless abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn repeated tirelessly that our supply does not come from limited human sources, but from God, the infinite source. She warned that depending solely on a job, a client, or a bank account for security is to confine the flow of abundance. When the mind fixates on one source, it blocks the infinite. Faith is the act of recognizing that there is always more, and that divine provision is without limit. In Hermeticism, this is mirrored in the concept of the All. The Kybalion declares, "The All is infinite, eternal, unchangeable, absolute, and unconditioned." If the All is the source of everything, including money, then there is no reason to fear scarcity. Abundance is not attached to a person, a paycheck, or circumstance. It flows from the All and manifests through countless channels. That is the Hermetic understanding. Money is a reflection of an inexhaustible source. Florence taught that true faith is not waiting to see it, is seeing before receiving. When you speak to money with confidence, you are declaring to the subconscious, "I trust that supply already exists, even if I cannot see it yet." This is faith, not as blind belief, but as a spiritual science, an active trust that opens invisible channels through which abundance flows. Quantum physics supports this truth through the concept of the unified field, a sea of infinite possibilities where all realities coexist. When we direct our consciousness with faith, we select one of those possibilities to manifest. Thus, faith is not illusion, it is a conscious interaction with the quantum field. What Florence called God, science now calls the unified field of potential. That is why those who say, "I only believe what I see," remain trapped in limitation. True faith reverses that order. Believe to see. Both Hermeticism and quantum physics agree. Consciousness precedes reality. The visible is born from the invisible, and faith is the bridge between them. Florence shared countless stories of people who, through trust, received unexpected blessings, an unforeseen job, a financial gift, a sudden opportunity. She called these natural miracles. To her, nothing happened by chance. It was simply the source responding to a state of faith. That trust activates channels that logic alone cannot open. Hermeticism reinforces this through the law of correspondence, as within, so without. When faith lives within, opportunities appear without. When fear dominates within, blocks appear without. Reality is never unjust, it only reflects the level of trust we hold. The all never fails to provide. It is our minds that fail to believe. Therefore, speaking to money is not an empty ritual, it is a practice of faith. It is to declare, "Money, I know you flow from the infinite source and move freely through my life." This statement reprograms the subconscious, aligns vibration, and connects you with the quantum field. Florence, Hermes, and modern science meet on the same ground. Faith is not waiting, it is creating. And trust is not weakness, it is the greatest strength there is. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that money is not neutral, it is a mirror reflecting the state of one's consciousness. For her, scarcity was never just the absence of resources, but the projection of internal beliefs rooted in fear, limitation, or unworthiness. Prosperity, therefore, does not begin in the bank, it begins in the mind. Every coin, every bill, every absence is a reflection of what one sustains within. Hermeticism confirms this through the timeless axiom from the Kybalion: as within, so without; as without, so within. The money that flows to or away from you is never random. It is the visible echo of your inner vibration. If you see money as an enemy, it behaves like one. If you see it as an ally, it becomes your partner. Money never lies, it merely reveals. Florence warned that many try to change their financial reality without changing their consciousness, and that is why they fail. They repeat affirmations without feeling, plan without faith, and save out of fear. The result is always unstable, because the outer reflection cannot shift until the inner mirror is transformed. Prosperity is the consequence, never the cause. Quantum physics illustrates this perfectly through the double-slit experiment. Light, when unobserved, behaves as a wave of infinite possibilities. But once observed, it collapses into a specific pattern. Money behaves the same way. It exists as a field of limitless potential, but collapses into the exact form of the consciousness that observes it. Those who look at it with fear collapse scarcity. Those who look at it with trust collapse abundance. Hermeticism calls this the law of vibration. Everything vibrates and attracts frequencies alike. If your mind vibrates in scarcity, you perceive only lack and closed doors. But when your consciousness vibrates in abundance, new paths appear that were previously invisible. Money, in this sense, doesn't create opportunities. It reveals them, according to your vibration. Florence said, "The most terrible enemy of man is the fear of losing supply. That fear distorts the mirror, projecting a warped image of reality. But when the mind is filled with faith, gratitude, and trust, the mirror clears, and the reflection reveals life's natural abundance. Money simply responds to the clarity of the consciousness that observes it." Jung, in his analytical psychology, explained that what we repress returns to us as projection. The same applies to money. When we see it as distant, dirty, or dangerous, we are merely projecting our unintegrated shadows onto it. The true work is internal, to change consciousness in order to change the reflection. It is not about worshiping money, but about understanding that it symbolizes the psychic state we carry. So, to speak to money is, ultimately, to speak to yourself. It is to confront your beliefs, dissolve your fears, and align your mind with the universal flow. Florence, Hermes, and quantum physics speak the same language with different words. Money is the mirror. If you wish to see abundance reflected, the change begins not in the mirror but in the mind that gazes into it. Hermeticism teaches that anything unused is eventually lost. This is the law of use, an often forgotten yet essential principle. It declares that the forces, gifts, and resources granted by the all must be set in motion. Whatever is withheld out of fear or selfishness begins to decay and disappear. It is the rhythm of life itself, to grow, to expand, to give. When we refuse to use what we've been given, we interrupt the flow of abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn echoed this ancient law in her writings. She said that money must circulate, talents must be practiced, and faith must be applied, not theorized. Those who wait for the perfect moment before acting remain paralyzed, and prosperity drifts away. The universe does not reward those who hoard out of fear, but those who use what they have with confidence. Hermeticism connects this idea to the law of rhythm, but the law of use adds a practical truth. Energy grows through exercise. A musician who never plays loses his skill. A body that never moves weakens. Money that does not circulate stagnates. Faith that is never practiced fades. The secret is not in hoarding, but in using wisely what you already possess. Florence often said that people promised to give when they had more. But she insisted, giving begins with what you have now. If you do not use the little, the subconscious records scarcity. But when you use what you have with trust, even if it is small, the universe opens the door for greater things. The law of use is the key that transforms seeds into harvests. Quantum physics finds a parallel in the concept of potential energy. Energy that remains at rest has no effect, but when released, it generates motion and transformation. The same applies to ideas, talents, and money. Keeping them locked away out of fear keeps them in potential form. Putting them to use collapses that potential into reality. Abundance is born not from hoarding, but from conscious movement. Hermeticism reminds us that the all is flow, and everything in creation exists to serve a higher purpose. To use is to align yourself with that cosmic rhythm. When you use your money to create growth, your gifts to serve others, and your faith to shape reality, you harmonize with the very pulse of the universe. That is why Florence said that money spent with confidence always returns multiplied. It is the law of use in motion. Yet there is a warning. Using energy unconsciously driven by ego or vanity does not generate true abundance. The law of use demands wisdom. It is not about reckless spending, but about investing energy in alignment with the consciousness of abundance. To use with purpose is to transform. To use with ego is to waste. Speaking to money, then, is also a reminder to it and to yourself that its purpose is to serve life, to create, to circulate, to expand. Florence, Hermes, and even science agree. Whatever is not used is lost, but whatever is used with faith, trust, and intention multiplies without limits. This is the law of use, the sacred bridge between possessing and prospering. What you've heard here is not theory. It is a call to practice. Over a century ago, Florence Scovel Shinn revealed that money is not just paper. It is living consciousness, a force that responds to your thoughts, your words, and your emotions. Hermeticism confirmed this truth millennia ago through the principle that all is mind. And quantum physics, through its discoveries, now begins to prove that reality itself is shaped by the observer. To speak to money, to bless it, to give thanks, to treat it as a friend, this is not delusion. It is alignment with the universal laws that govern existence. It is the understanding that what you emit is what you receive. Florence called this faith. Hermes called it mentalism. Modern science calls it the quantum field of possibilities. Different languages, one truth. But remember, transformation does not come to those who merely listen. It comes to those who apply. If you want your financial life to change, start today. Speak consciously. Cultivate gratitude. Have faith in the infinite source. Put the law of use into action. The more you align with the flow, the more the flow aligns with you. If this message resonated with you, like, subscribe, and share this video. By doing so, you're not only helping this channel, you're also teaching the algorithm itself to bring more content that expands your consciousness. A simple action, but one that opens new portals of wisdom. Now, seal your vibration with this decree. I am abundance in action. And if you wish to go deeper, you'll find in the pinned comment the ebook, The Key to Prosperity, where I reveal how to apply the Hermetic laws to transform your financial reality from within. It's available now at a special release price. You did not find this video by accident. You were called because you are standing on the threshold of victory, and the universe has placed in your hands the tools to cross it. The choice is yours, to remain in the vibration of fear or to step boldly into the frequency of abundance. Until our next initiatory encounter on the path of Hermetic wisdom.